Driven Racing Oil's GP1 Nitro 70. Trusted by top engine builders, winning racers, and devoted horsepower enthusiasts across the world, Driven takes legendary base oils such as the ones from Brantford, Pennsylvania, which comprise our GP1 line. Then, we boost that superior base oil with state-of-the-art additive packages. Driven's GP1 Nitro 70 not only provides anti-wear protection, but can shield cylinders from washout and fuel dilution caused by methanol or nitro-based fuel. Learn more about Driven Racing Oil by following us on Facebook or Instagram at Driven Racing Oil, or shop now at drivenracingoil.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, live with the Chaos. Lee Craft here, aka Monday Morning Racer, and over there, the voice of Chaos, Mr. David Rattan. And Chaos is growing and growing and growing. We're inching every closer, David, to Nitro Chaos and Funny Car Chaos firing up at the great Texas Motorplex.
That we are, Lee, and the social media feeds are abuzz and maybe even ablaze with all the new cars that are being put together all around the country, meanwhile here, meanwhile there, and it's eye-popping and exciting to think about all the different new teams we're going to see, the teams we're familiar with that have decided to run an updated version of their race car in 2025. I mean, it is getting good, and we're going to be talking Nitro Chaos here tonight with a couple of the owners of the coolest, most unique vehicles to run Nitro Chaos, and something that kind of highlights the run what you brung aspect of all things chaos. And we'll get a chance to talk with both of those one from Iowa, one from Wisconsin, and looking forward to hearing what they've got to say. The run up to the Funny Car Chaos Classic is keeping everybody busy, including everybody up there at McKinney Motorsports.
Right. And, speaking of McKinney Motorsports, glad to have them back as the official fabrication source of Chaos. If you need anything for your hot rod in Funny Car or Nitro Chaos or Fuel Altered Chaos, from tabs to an entire race car ready to go, McKinney Corp certainly can cover your needs.
And a lot of people taking advantage of the services offered there by Murph and Company there in Indiana. And you've seen a lot of, I think everybody really is appreciating the spy shots and the little updates that you provide, Lee, as we are getting a chance to see some of that hardware that is coming to play in 2025 from the shop there. And I know that you guys are still hopping.
For sure. It is certainly not off season up there. Murph is swamped. The entire team is swamped. I think of Matt, who builds the tanks. We just say Matt the welder on social media. It is an entire shelving unit of tanks that are bent and ready for him to fabricate and put together. And it's the time of the year where everybody wants their stuff now. So I think the cat's kind of out of the bag, and I can kind of say that Alexis DeJoria is going to be running a Dodge body. They had on her social media today the body that they got from McKinney Corp. We did the tin work. We mounted it to the Force chassis that they're going to be running. And, they were asking, hey, can we have this like now? Can we have this now? Can we have this now? And there's another one coming for them. Can we have it now? So there's a lot of that going on right now because testing and baby gators and all that's happening right now. And the time to have your stuff done is rapidly coming to an end. Now, for the Chaos Racer, you got a little bit more time. And just make sure when you call McKinney Corp, tell them the Chaos sent you. And Murph is definitely supportive of what's happening in the world of Chaos. And speaking with him, he's like, man, I remember when I went to Eddyville, and it was so cool to see people racing with their families. It was not just a bunch of fly-in people coming to work on these race cars. It was family members. And he also took note that Chris is really mindful of the fan. He said the warm up, the staggered choreographed warm up was very thoughtful for the fans instead of like what you might experience at the NHRA and many other places where it's very random. But the go here, go there, and experience a wave of warm up. He admired that a lot for the sake of the fan.
Yeah, that's one of those cool features of a chaos event, and they're always trying to think. We are always trying to make sure that the fan has a great experience, because rule number one is to have fun, and there are a lot of folks that are getting accustomed to and acquainted with the fun factor that is a part of all things that are chaos events. You were talking about gotta have it now. I tell you, I got a chance. I made some travels over the last week, had some conversations on the phone and in person with some folks. Talked with Ken Singleton, talking about some of those tanks there from McKinney's shop. And Ken Singleton has some of those on the vehicles that he's putting together and putting the finishing touches on. I was talking to him about what a lot of folks have in mind right now is to get in touch with Larice Motorsports Insurance, make sure they've got everything covered before they load up, put it in the trailer, and start heading down the road. And it's not too early, never too early, to get your call in to Haley and the team there at Larice Motorsports Insurance and make sure that your assets are covered. I was supposed to go by and see Michael Neal and the team at Driven Racing Oils, but Mother Nature had other ideas as they had snow and ice in Memphis, Tennessee. So on my travels, I wound up going through southern Arkansas to get over for a visit with some family there in Mississippi. But on the way back, I did get a chance to stop by Senatobia to Ronnie's Hot Rods. And you talk about, let's do it now. Man, they have got so many builds going on in that shop. And Casey Giesland gave me the bird's eye view of all things happening in that amazing shop there. Oh, happy birthday to Ronnie Giesland as they are coming back from a cruise today, but they're celebrating the big birthday. And then, getting a chance to talk with some prospective sponsors and supporters, an organization in Texarkana, Texas, that's really working hard to make things more profitable for the little guy with a auto shop. So, look for pending developments to come through on that. And just a lot of things going on, Lee, as we get, we're under 10 days before the March meet starts. And of course, that's not one of our events, but it is one of the most anticipated events in the world of drag racing. So coast to coast, whether it's in Florida, whether it's in California, and then it's going to come to the middle of the country at the Texas Motorplex as we have the Classic, and we get things off to a rip-roaring start in just a little while.
Absolutely. Well, David, we've got our first guest queued up and ready to go in the green room, so we'll take a break and come right to him and talk to an individual with a unique hot rod that I think the fans out there in chaos and beyond in the world of drag racing certainly can gravitate towards and is one worth pulling for. He's got a spectacular hot rod and pretty cool story in his own right.
Absolutely. So hang in there, folks, for Andy Fangman coming up next.
Larice Motorsports Insurance offers drag racers the broadest insurance policies in the industry. Larice Motorsports Insurance was created by racers for racers. Larice insures race cars on and off the track, trailers and equipment. Larice even pays racers contingencies at the fling bracket races. Don't wait until it's too late. Call Larice Motorsports Insurance today.
McKinney Motorsports is your #1 source for all your chassis needs. McKinney Motorsports is the leading chassis parts supplier and fabricator in nitro drag racing. From custom tanks and fittings, full chassis builds, body mounts, steering components, fasteners, tabs, clamps, composite parts, and much more. Our household name in the racing world guarantees added performance on the track. Join our list of proven winners that spans over 50 years of racing experience.
And we are back with one of the guys that has made a big splash in the world of nitro drag racing with his Nitro Pro Mod. I tell you, the ripple that has come from you showing up And running that Nitro Pro Mod like you have at Nitro Chaos and other events has been spectacular, Andy Fangman. Andy Fangman, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Lee, and thank you, David, for having me on. It's been quite the journey to get here. As you can see, the car's brought a lot of attention over the last couple of years. We've only had it together for, I think, 3 years. This will be our 4th year having it out. So it's fairly new, and it's growing.
Oh, it is. You start to see, I mean, there's just a handful of them in existence, but they keep showing up. A few more here and a few more there. One of these days, who knows? There might be, Pro Mod, Nitro Pro Mod Chaos. I don't know, but you have certainly had an impact on the world of nitro drag racing. But drag racing is not something that that you've been doing for all that long. It's not like it's been something you've done for your whole life, but you have been racing a good while.
Yeah, I've been doing it here. My dad got me in a bracket car in 2009. It's a family car. Came out starting doing a little bracket racing and started doing Super Pro. Ahead of that, I was a bottom end guy for Richard Putt's top alcohol dragster car. So I did a lot of stuff with the dragster, being a part of that program with the Hemis and just trying to have the most fun as we could. I lived on the racetrack for many years. My dad building motors and doing machine work and stuff, and we run a body shop here in Iowa. So yeah, that it keeps us hopping here,
Yes, and so with the body shop and the fact that you're working on cars all the time, did you do a lot of the fab work on your Nitro Pro Mod there at your shop?
Yeah, so I actually had a 10.5 wide tire car that we were ahead of the game for quite some time, and guys just started catching up with technology and faster equipment, better stuff. And I had to do a lot of work on that 10.5 Mustang to be competitive with it. And we just started scratching our heads, and I'm like, I think it's time we do something different and go a different direction. So I picked this car up down in Mississippi. My wife and my daughter went with me down there. We picked it up. It was half baked. Just had 4 tires on it. I think the steering wheel, there's no glass in it, no motor. It's just a roller. Brought it home and started. We were going to actually put the Mustang Pro Charger Hemi. It was a TFX Pro Charger car that we were going to take all that drivetrain and stick it into the Camaro. We were mocking stuff up, and I was going to have to change the fuel cell because you got to make a hole for the air to come in, the air intake to come through that for the Pro Charger. And I started doing this stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't like this. And I want to do something different. And my dad actually looked at me. He's like, maybe we should, let's do a nitro deal. Like a good buddy of mine, Neil Hinman, he's picked up the reins. He's got a fuel altered now. And he's like, let's do that. He's got that thing working pretty good. So we started grabbing parts from all over the country here. We picked up a glide clutch from a guy out in Utah, and we knew B&J really good. Steve there at B&J, we found a transmission from him. He helped us put one together, and actually the drive shaft came out of an old Pro Mod that got crashed at Eddyville a couple years back. Neil Hinman was driving that car. It got rolled over the wall. It used to be Mike Bell's car, and that thing got just destroyed down there. I was in a race down there, but no, we went this route with the car, and it's been pretty good to us. We just pulled the motor down. The crank finally came out of it and had it magged here this year, and had over 60 passes on it, and every journal was cracked. It was done. It was time to come out. The rods had over 60 passes on them. They're Bill Miller rod. They're a fuel rod, and they've been really good. It was time to cycle those out, and we run an Ohio billet crankshaft. A lot of guys are running the Bryants and Winbergs and stuff, and sometimes we don't have the pocketbook for that high dollar stuff, so we kind of went with that route. It's been good to us. Luckily, it didn't come out on its own there in one of our races and make a mess in the track, but we're we're having fun with this thing, you know.
Man, I know it is evident, and you guys are making friends and making fans every time you pull it out of the trailer at an event. And so this growing group of fans that are gravitating towards Nitro Pro Mods, what do you see when they show up at your pit area and they go, what is this? I didn't know we're having Pro Mods, and they start to ask questions and everything. What is it like to have people, to have one of the most unique Nitro cars in existence?
It's wild. These people, I've never been outside the car. I've always been in it when it ran. So but I know what it's like to be standing behind a car when it's on. We started on alcohol and warm it up, get heat in it. And then we switch it over to nitro. It's a 26 gallon pump deal, 413 cubic inch, TFX block, Nostalgia stage 2 heads, and it's 671 blower. It looks like if you tell anybody like, hey, we're going racing, we got a 671 blower on this thing, and it's a 413 cubic inch, and they're like, that's all the bigger that is? I'm like, yeah, that's it. Because we did some big tire stuff. We'll show up to a big tire event and get into big tire with Pro Mods and run them, and you start this thing up on alcohol, and then you switch it to nitro, and those people come running over, and they're like, what the heck is it? Because a lot of these people, they've never been around nitro. Like you and I have been around this stuff, and a lot of these guys that we hang out with on every other weekend at a chaos event, we've been doing this for years. A lot of these people at the big tire events, they have no idea what that stuff is like, and it's burning their eyes, and they're running out of the back trying to get away from it. And then there's other people coming in and getting a whiff, getting the yellow fog. It is, I always call it that yellow fog. That'll get you,
It will get you. We are waiting on David. We've had some technical difficulties, and he dropped out. We'll have him back in just a few moments. Yeah, and you are certainly getting everybody out there and their attention, Andy. Let's take the time and give you the platform to talk about what is on the door of the car. And you can share. You can see it there a little bit, maybe better in this shot. Or this one. Oh, no. We'll pull that up. But on the door there in that ghost black, if you will, special cause, special case on the side of your hot rod.
Yeah, it is, Lee. My daughter was diagnosed with it's called Pandas. We call it Pandas, and it says Pandas Network on there. They're an outfit that's helped us a lot with my daughter trying to get a path on getting her better, and she's doing really well. My daughter Josie. It stands for Pediatric Autoimmune Disorder Associated with Streptococcal Infections, like strep infections. And what happens, it's a brain inflammation that it causes all kinds of sudden onset. 1 minute you can be fine, and they have tics where they can't think, they have brain fog, they can't function. Some people, they get paralyzed down on one side of their body. My daughter didn't have that, thank the Lord. But it's like autistic deals. I'm just trying to look. She had it where she wanted just to get out of. She's like, I'm tired of feeling like this, Dad. It was so sad seeing her like this. And that was another kind of one of the other things that made me put this car together is trying to get that word out there that there is help out there. It takes a lot of work and takes the right doctor to get that help. And we found some doctors to help us here in Iowa, and it was a tough road because it was new. It's a new deal, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. And we've met some people on in the pits that came up to us and said, "Hey, thanks for what you guys are doing. My daughter has this, or my son's dealing with this same thing." And some people think that you're crazy. Like there's no such thing as PANS or Pandas. Well, it's starting to get well known now. I think we're spreading a little bit of the word on it, and it's definitely it's having that on the car on a cause. It sure helps,
That it does. I'm curious, what would help you in the case of this question from John Boy? Hope to see you at the Texas Motorplex. Would really love to see his car, referring to your car, in person. So the first Nitro Chaos of this year will be in conjunction with the Funny Car Chaos Classic. And talking behind the scenes, that's not your planned first event, but someone might be watching. What would it get? What would it need? What would you need to get you down there at the Texas Motorplex for the big one?
Well, John Boy and everybody else out there, we're working on some stuff. I'm trying to get. We don't really have the really good equipment to haul our stuff. We're low budget. I'm owner operator of this thing. My dad helps me out with some of the parts and stuff, machine and all of that, trying to make it work. We're not like a John Force team where we got 4 haulers going down the road and can just swing. We're out wherever we want. When we leave, my trailer is packed full of everything. Like we don't have room for a golf cart. I actually have to have somebody pull my golf cart to push the car around in the pits at these events. So getting down to Texas, my brother lives in Texas. He lives down down by southern Houston and LaPorte. He's been wanting us to come down there. That'd be great to go down in his neck of the woods and show up down there and bring this car out. I'm hoping that we can get it to go out that far in the future and try to make all these events for Nitro Chaos. That'd be just spectacular. And it's not out of the question. I don't know for this year if we can make it, swing it. I know we're going to be in Havana, which is the end of the year. We can back up to that. Eddyville, we're going to be going to. That's the first one. And then there is Mocan. That's in Missouri. We're planning on that when we're going to be in Havana at the end of the year. That's those 3 for sure. Unless we blow the car, wreck it, or who knows what can happen with these nitro things. They get pretty wild, and I can't see nothing out of that thing anyway. Everybody keeps putting me in that left lane, and I can barely see the tree over the freaking hood. All these guys I'm racing against, they all got fuel altereds or the slingshot dragsters. They can see everything. I'm over here in the left lane. All I'm seeing is a little going like this, trying to see out down out the track. It's tough. You got your shield on, and I can't breathe in that thing either. But that's another thing.
Hey, do the Alex Laughlin solution. He put a little monitor in the.
I saw that.
So
that was pretty true.
Yeah, that big old, blower is like he couldn't see a thing, and I watched the screen.
Yeah, I think we talked about that at PRI when I was talking to you there. I was like,
yeah, man, whatever you got to do. And speaking of whatever you've got to do, I'm going to bring the photo up. I know you wanted to talk with David about this. I'm not sure what the context is, but I'll bring the photo up. We'll put you on screen and break down what we're seeing here in your hot rod.
So that there is, if you look at that, you can see that's my throttle pedal. And we built this car. We went out to Tri-State Raceway, which is my hometown track, which is an amazing facility. Great guys out there running it. We went out there, and it's one of those things. Brand new car. I've never drove a nitro car in my life. I ran small tire stuff, so this was all new to me. We rolled out, did the burnout, and I backed it up. And the whole thing, we said, hey, we're going to go out, go 60 feet, click it in high gear and shut it off, right? That's pretty fair. And so I went out, I stood on this thing so darn hard. I folded that throttle pedal on the back side of that stop and hung the throttle the first time this car went down the racetrack. So I'm hanging on, and I lifted, and I'm like, uh-oh. And I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't tell what. And I'm still trying to drive this thing. So I reached up and killed the throttle, or killed the mag. I shut the mag off, and everybody said it, that these things will run on their own. And you bet your butt, it ran on its own. It kept on going, and I'm like, all right. So I got a handbrake in there, and I grabbed that, and we're wide open, going down the track, boogieing. And I reached over, I yanked on the brake a couple times. I don't know what I was thinking. I yanked on that. I'm still trying to drive this thing. We're going. It was up over 170 mile an hour by then, and I'm like, shut the fuel off, dummy. Shut that thing down. So I reached over, shut the fuel off. It's on my hand. My hand grip is on my brake for the fuel. And I shut the fuel off, and it was up over 180 mile an hour by the time it started slowing down. Peter, it didn't knock the blower off, which we got lucky with that. And the track manager came down on his moped, and he's like, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, we're good. So I got it shut off. It was a quarter-mile track. Thank God. It could have been real bad. But he's like, it looks like your throttle hung. I'm like, yeah, it did. I said, something's off. He's like, well, I said, don't touch anything, because about the time you touch something, go away. But it was definitely, you could see in the photo there that it was hung pretty good. It wasn't coming off, and we fixed that right away. That would have definitely been a bad deal if the car wouldn't have went straight, or the worst, because these things here, the reaction time is horrible in a nitro car, especially, well, for mine. A lot of the guys, the big pro guys, have their butterflies are right at the edge of their bug catcher or their injector hat. So as soon as they move, that car is starting to move and accelerate. Well, my car, the butterflies sit back in there, so you got to snap them back pretty hard to get them to react. Well, and you got to see the light too. You got to see all 3 ambers and try to get it react. So you're smashing that throttle down as hard as you can to try to get a good reaction time with these cars. And it would have caught. It probably would have happened sooner or later. And a bad thing would have been, it would have found it at the end of the track, and that would have been a bad day. So we got really lucky.
You absolutely did. I'm glad it happened at Tri-State Raceway. You just would have been out in corn in a lot more leveler way than Eddyville. They've got a fine facility there that is quite literally all concrete, from stands to track to everything. It is neat up there. Well, we're going to bring David back in. We've got him back. There we go. Yeah. David's back in. I'm going to drop back out. David, you can finish this thing. We will rock on.
All right. Yeah. So we started the conversation with technology, and technology let us down then, but you guys were able to go through. Hey, what does you've driven in the mud? You've driven a bracket car, Super Pro. Was it a door car, or did you have a drag?
Yep. 64 Chevelle. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And so driving this, what are the similarities and what are the differences from anything you've ever driven before?
I think it's kind of stepped up a little bit, going from a bracket car to the 10.5 car, into this. The 10.5 car, I always like to say, is like you're like a ballerina, and you're kind of tiptoeing around. You're always trying to keep power out and trying to get the car go down. These big old floppy tires on the Pro Mod and fuel cars, you just let it have it. You just give it the power. You might have to pull a little bit out, but you're ramping that in and trying to get all that come in as you're going down the track and get this thing to accelerate. That's the difference. And like I said, everything happens so fast in these cars that I'm really comfortable in that black thing. It looks scary. I don't know. Maybe everybody says that thing's wild look on the outside. I've never been on the outside and got to see this thing go down. I'm trying to think of somebody I can get in there and give them a shot. I'd like to get my dad in it. I think he'd get a kick out of it. I've always got to wreck all his stuff and break all his toys all over the life. If he breaks this, whatever. But yeah, it is different. It almost goes. Everything goes in slow motion, as everybody says. It's time slows down, and you're able to make unreal corrections that cat-like reflexes, they say, and that's kind of what it is. And I'm pretty cautious as I'm driving a thing, because I don't want to wreck it. I don't have the money to just go get another one and go put it together. It's a lot of work trying to get one of these things to go. Get it on that start line. You're having to change the oil every pass, and we check valve springs and all that stuff if the time lets us. Otherwise, we usually just dump the oil, put fresh oil in it. My dad zeroes the clutch, and the way we go. It's crazy.
Well, I know your family appreciates the added level of caution, because you're getting pretty fast in a hurry there. I bet one of the things that's really different is that those header flames when the sun goes down.
Yeah, it's the first time we got to see the header flames was actually at Eddyville. Actually, the photo behind me, I remember that. Actually, my car was broke. My car was broken in this photo behind me. I was only running on 7 cylinders, and that was actually the fastest pass we had to that date at that time. I broke an intake rocker, busted in the burnout, and we didn't know it. You can't hear it. They just sound, I don't know, they sound loud, and they sound the same when they break. But that extra boost went up after all 7 holes were out. And the thing went, I think we went like 183 or 4 mile an hour, which isn't really fast at the time, but it was for second year out with the car. And but I actually had a sensor. I got a ride height sensor in the front of the car, has a little tag on it, and it caught the beam for the timer, and it messed up the timing system. And it actually gave me a red light in qualifying, and we didn't get a good time. And but we fixed it. We caught another thing. We found it. We fixed it and got, like, well, that won't happen again. We'll get it back. So.
Yeah. Now, how does I know you're a family operation that, you come to the racetrack with who, and you've got everybody in the family working on it, right?
We do. Yeah. So I tell you what holds these cars together? I know mine is my wife. My wife, Samantha, she's my backup girl. She's my bug. She puts me in the beams and looks at me before we go down the track and says, don't wreck my ride, she says. But yeah, that's her there. That's her there. She's back, and she's been with me. She's stuck with me over the years here through all my endeavors. Just so happy to have her along. My other two guys, other than my dad, Tom Fangman's my dad. He does the clutch work and all the machine work on the car. Sean Berneman from over by Webster City, Iowa, and then his son Owen helps me. They've been with us ever since we had the car going. And then my son Ashton Fangman, he comes with us every time. He kind of does a lot of our media stuff. We got a lot of stuff on TikTok, and that we got a big following on there. People show up and they're like, "I seen your car on TikTok," and I'm like, I don't know. I guess I didn't have TikTok a couple years ago, and I'm like, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, cool. Like, great,
Yeah.
But it's a big deal. My daughter Josie, she comes with us. She's with this Panda stuff. She doesn't like loud noises. Loud noises they mess with her. She hates it. Well, I got the loudest freaking car in our county. You're with, and she's really good about it. She was coming out helping us sell shirts and stuff, and she comes out there and she has a good time, and that's what it's all about. Bring out there with your family, take your friends along, go out there, just make the best time of it, because you know what, you don't have a lot of time on this planet, and things are bad in a lot of places. We just try to have a good time. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. One last thing, your take on the Nitro Chaos concept. How has it impacted you, and where do you see us going?
Man, I tell you what, I really want to throw a big shout out to Chris Graves and Tara Graves. They've done. I don't know where things would be without Nitro Chaos coming to light like they have been. Having an A and a B field for us small guys, we really. We were our first time we ever raced at a Nitro Chaos. We didn't make it in the field. I think we were number 18, but I think they had 32 cars. I mean, it was crazy. That was at Eddyville a couple of years ago, and but we had a great time there. And then last year, the second time we've actually been to a race, because Eddyville rained out the year prior to this, we went there. And we went to the final. We almost won the thing. So that in the B field, which that's awesome. I had no idea I was going to go that far, and that's what everybody is getting into this. It's 80% nitromethane in the tank. That's the only rule. I don't think they let any front or rear engine dragsters anymore. So like A-fuel cars are kind of out of the question. But anything else, it's run what you brung. Anybody can run, as long as you got 80% nitromethane in the tank. You bring it out, you send it, and have a good time. And they got the payout's really good. If you go qualify and do well, you're going to come home with some money and have a good time. That's what it's about, And a lot of these guys that have been around for a long time, I don't want to kind of knock them or anything, but they're getting up in age, and a lot of these guys have been tight-lipped about all these tune-ups on nitro cars, and I think a lot of them are starting to realize that if they take this stuff to their grave, there isn't going to be anybody around new to start doing this stuff. And that's definitely changing. A lot of these guys are sharing information. They're helping other teams out. And because if you try to do this on your own, you're going to blow a lot of stuff up. You're going to run over a lot of parts. I mean, there's guys driving over crankshafts as it is, let alone trying to go out there and be like, I want to start doing nitro racing and just start throwing parts together. You got to have a tune-up to do this stuff. That's bottom line. And have good people that can help you through it. And you need to listen to them too. I've had people ask me, hey, I want to go nitro race and do this. And I'm like, hey man, you got to stick to something close or it's going to hurt you. this stuff's nasty stuff, and it'll get you. You've seen it. Guys, mags go flying over trailers because they had some fuel in a hole. They didn't clear it out right. I mean, it's wild. I mean, I don't know. I have never seen that happen, but I can about imagine.
It's an amazing substance. It creates incredible magic, but it can create incredible mayhem as well.
Right.
Well, I do appreciate you racing with us, being on the show tonight. I love it that we get a chance to hear your story, and that everybody out there in Chaos Nation gets a chance to find out from you directly what it's like to be in that Nitro Pro Mod and racing on the Nitro Chaos series. So thank you again for being a part of Nitro Chaos and the show tonight. Man, we are looking forward to seeing you in Eddyville.
I'll be there. We're going to be ready. We're going to come out and just try to kick some butt. So thank you so much for having me on here, David. It's been delightful.
Absolutely. Thanks again. All right. So there you have it from Andy Fangman, the Nitro Pro Mod, one of the very popular cars, unique cars that you get a chance to see in competition in Nitro Chaos that is now been opened up to unique cars. And we've got another one of those racers with a very unique car that is coming up after this break. And we're going to get a chance to hear about the Street Fuel Coupe of Brian Kohlmann right after these words. Chaos Live on a Wednesday night coming to you with Brian Kohlmann, and he has got one of the most unique, amazing cars in existence. I got to tell you, imagine that you are at a car show and it's a warm summer night and everybody's hanging around with their friends. They got their lawn chairs out. They're walking around talking to people and looking at their cars, and off in the distance, not too far, you hear the sound that you don't quite recognize, but it's the sound of a nitro engine firing up, and it's getting closer and closer to you, and it pulls right up into the car show with the header flames going, and finds a place in the show, shuts it down, and everybody's running off because they don't know what they're experiencing. That's exactly what happens when you're up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and Brian Kohlmann decides to bring his car out. It's happened before. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Feel honored.
Man, we are loving it whenever you come to the races. And we're going to go ahead and break the news right quick that Brian is going to be racing at all 5 Nitro Chaos events in 2025 with that one-of-a-kind Street Fuel Coupe from there in Wisconsin. Brian, I really enjoyed getting a chance to talk with you about your car. It is absolutely unique. It is something that whoever would have imagined there would be a car, and actually very few people have ever imagined that they could build a car, that they could drive to the track, race on nitro, and then put it back together and fire it up and drive home. But that is exactly what you've done. Tell us about the evolution of this Street Fuel Coupe.
Started when I bought just a shell. It was a body and a frame that was original. It's a 1931 Chrysler CM6 Coupe. They are incredibly rare because Chryslers were so much more expensive than a Ford at the height of the Depression. So there's very few of these things around. And I put a a 354 blown Hemi in the car. It had 8 Strombergs and a manual transmission. It had a stock frame and a straight axle and leaf springs up front. And we were driving the thing on the street all over everywhere. And the more I raced it, the faster we wanted it to go. And eventually the thing went in the 9s. And then we were out on a drag and drive event, and we broke a brake line, and the car went into a cement barrier and bent the frame and damaged things. And leading up to that mishap, Roger Lechtenberg and I were talking back and forth about being able to run nitro on the car. And it went from kind of an experiment from going from gas to nitro to actually putting the thing on the track. And it started going faster and faster. And then we started with drag week. And we did pretty good in drag week, but that got really expensive. And then we wanted to go even faster with this thing. And we went to a fuel altered national in Iowa and just had a wonderful time there. And then we hit a couple of chaos races, and it's on now. We made some changes to the car, and we're going to hit all 5 events and see what we can do.
Man, that is great news for everybody out there in Chaos Nation, because your car, man, you talk about draws a crowd. And of course, I imagine that when you showed up at the drag and drive events and put the car on nitro, not a lot of nitro cars running drag and drive.
Yeah, they couldn't believe it. All the photographers that were on the wall that are used to these turbo cars, we just about knocked them right off the wall. They couldn't believe how loud it was and the vibration and all the things that come with the nitro car. It really kind of freaked everyone out when we brought this thing to drag week.
Oh man, and I'm sure that folks are still talking about that. Now, you have evolved the car, and you started off with a 354, kind of wore it out, didn't you, before replacing it?
Yeah, we got the car to go into the 7s, and the last time we ran the 354, the crank just about came out of the car. We split the block in half. And it was at that point we knew we needed to upgrade things. And unfortunately, a friend passed away that was local to me, and he had a brand spanking new KB dry sleeve water block and some brand new stage 5 water heads. And I thought, man, that is exactly what I need. I can drive the thing on the street. I have the durability of the late model Hemi, and that's what we ended up going with. And then I changed things around as far as the fuel system and the ignition system. On the 354, I had a dual drive running off the cam, and it ran the magneto and the fuel pump, and then the EFI distributor was at the back of the engine. And that took a lot of work to mess around with that, because when we disengage it to drive it on the street, it just took a lot of time. So when we went with the late model, I ended up sticking a regular late model dual mag drive on the thing, and when you would look at the car, you would see what looks like 2 MSD 44s on the thing, but really there was only one that was a mag. The other one, Bob at System 1, he made a one-of-a-kind distributor for me, and he gutted one of those things, and there was no magnets or any of that stuff in it. It was just a shaft and a rotor, and that's what we used for the EFI side. So we would start the car up on with gas with a 12, believe it or not, with a 12-volt mini starter and a little 7.5-pound lithium battery. And that's how we'd start the thing. It would start up just like a brand new car with EFI. You just hit the button and it's running. Once the engine's running, we could drive it from the pits up to the water. And we got to the water, I turned on the magneto with a switch, and I opened up the fuel. And as soon as I would hear the tone change for the nitro, I just reach up and turn off the EFI. Now it's on full tilt nitro. we do the burnout and the pass, and as long as I didn't pull the parachutes, I could shut the fuel off and then just turn the EFI back on and drive it back to the pits like it was no big deal. We just go from gas to nitro, back to gas, back and forth, and it was no big deal. And we could do the same thing on the street too. And before a stoplight turned green, I mean, it was on nitro, and the race was on. I mean, it just went that fast where you could do that.
I can imagine being at the light, at the traffic light, and somebody thinks they've got something pretty hot, and they might like to see who gets down to the next block first. And you go to nitro, probably some folks never left the line.
Well, with the funny car zoomies, the angle of them and the force coming out of the pipes, I just about blew a couple motorcycles over. I just about knocked them right off their bike.
Yeah, I can imagine. You were now you've got some friends, some well-known friends who have been around nitro racing for literally decades, and they had input into what you're doing, and they have been along on this incredible journey that you're on. Tell the fans out there about a little bit about that.
Well, I've known Dale Sur and Roger Lechtenberg for decades, and when I was done racing my '65 AFX car, I became a crew member on Dale's car, and I'd talk with Roger all the time about making a car that was a dual fuel car and that I could drive on the street. And we're working on the dragster, and we get done with servicing that, and the conversation always turned to this nitro deal. And we talked about a lot of the things that it would take to make that happen. And then we damaged the car in Detroit. And then I decided the time is now. We're going to build this car. I talked to Jim Quinn at the chassis service in Wadsworth, Illinois. And I said, Jim, I need a chassis, and I need something, that I could, crash at 200 miles an hour and be able to limp away from the wreck. I want a radiator in the trunk. I want a moon tank where the radiator should be. I want torsion bars, a 4-link. I want to keep my stock dash. I don't want you to hack this car up. I want it to retain its original shape. I mean, it just on and on and on. Well, he gave me a look like, that's a lot to ask for, but I'm kind of tired of putting cages in Chevelles and Camaros, and this sounds like quite the challenge, so let's do it. And ended up building the car. So with Roger's assistance and input, kept bouncing ideas off, and we got the car built. And it evolved well, and I just got to a point where I needed to seek out some expert consultation. And Jerry Newman, very well-known tuner, he's come on board with us now, and he's really helped out with the tune-up and really kind of, taken us to the next level. Al McFadden, he's in my area, well-known nitro guy. He's driven everything that's, races with nitro. He's helped out. I have Howard Kay that helps and lets me use his shop. And for several years, he worked at the famous R&B chassis service in Kenosha. So I have these older guys that have been there and done it, and I'm just very fortunate that they're sharing their knowledge.
Well, they're sharing their knowledge, and they're having about as much fun. Well, maybe not quite as much fun as you are, but this, you go back to the old days of hot rodding, and it was, what could you create? What could you do that would make things go faster? And this car is very much a throwback to the original fuel altereds before they became what they are now, which is designed from a clean sheet of paper rather than altered from a street car to a race car.
Well, when when I set out to build the car, I really wanted to have something that looked old. When we were discussing the chassis design, I said, I think of a Logie style funny car from '66 with a double frame rail. Then I wanted the fuel altered look, so we put the hairpins on it in the straight axle. The top was chopped, the roof was filled, that type of thing. The moon tank out front. I found, just scoured the planet for magnesium wheels, and we had the bear claws on there and the 5-spoke Americans up front. And I had a matching set of those bear claws when we drive it on the street. And, I really tried to keep it looking like, what became fuel altereds in the mid '60s.
You were at Havana at the race there. I believe it was Havana. And one thing that people see on your car that you don't really see on very many race cars is rear view mirrors. And you were telling me a story about racing in Nitro Chaos, and you were out in front of another car, and you wondered where they were. And tell everybody about what happened.
It was the first round of eliminations, and I was racing against a funny car. And I took off, and I'm getting a ways down the track, and I don't hear the car. I don't see the car. I'm thinking, what's going on? I can't believe that I'm in front of this guy. And I just looked up in the rearview mirror, and I saw him way behind me. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I got the guy beat. And when I got back to the pits and I was talking to Jerry Newman about it, he got a real kick out of it that I said I just looked up in the rearview mirror and saw the guy was behind me. But the car is a real street car. It has a rearview mirror on it inside the car, and it has a mirror on each door on each side of the car. And they actually come in really handy, not only for street driving, but for racing as well. I can see if the parachutes open up. I can see if the thing's on fire or whatever. But in that instance, I was looking to see where my competitor was, and he was in the rearview mirror.
Which is exactly where you want him to be.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, that is a great story. Now, you have made some updates to the car since we've seen you last.
Yes, we have. So as this car has evolved, and Jerry, the tires are okay for the tune-up that I was capable of putting into it. Now that Jerry Newman's come on board, he's able to put more power into this thing, and he has certainly done it. And now we found out, last season we found out the tires were the limiting factor on the performance of the car. And after the race in Havana, I ended up putting some bead locks on it with some little Bubbas, and we took it out to the track, and it was just amazing the way the car took off. I wasn't sawing back and forth on the steering wheel anymore. I wasn't spinning the tires at 300 feet. So that was a huge improvement. And when we got home from the track, then we narrowed the rear end and the offset of the wheels and different things. We ended up narrowing the track on the car 13 inches. So the car's going to be in the groove now. It's going to be easier to drive. And Jerry can work his magic, and we can stick the car to the track. So and then I also ended up buying a data logger, and we put that on the car, and a couple other things. It's definitely going to be faster this year. It's just more of a race car now. We also changed the cam. I just had a little street cam in the thing, and I talked to the guys at Bullet, and they ended up grinding a real nitro cam for me. So that's in the car now. So that was all based on Jerry Newman's specs, and we're thinking some big things are going to happen with this car, and it's really going to haul.
And the changes that you made to make it, it impacted the way you're able to drive. You were telling me that you took it up, to Union Grove, and it rode pretty smooth.
Yeah, it was unlike anything, any other passes I've made in the car. in the past, because of these tires, I was sawing back and forth on the steering wheel, my foot's up and down on the throttle, and you're really working to get it down the track. And it was so smooth. If I didn't have the gloves on my hand, I probably could have been sending text messages as I'm driving the car, because it was just that smooth.
Well, whenever we get down to Texas Motorplex for the Funny Car Chaos Classic featuring Nitro Chaos, there's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be coming by to see you, just to get a load of what you have put together. One of a kind. There, I don't think there's anything like it anywhere. And you have labored at this for how long have you been working on this car?
Had it for about 12 years, and it's probably been the dual fuel car for probably, I don't know, maybe 7 years. It's taken some just incredible amount of screwing around and experimentation to actually make this thing do what it does. I mean, for the people out there that run nitro cars, think about running a nitro car 5 days in a row, and all the equipment, the oil, the cases of oil, carrying all your nitro, your alcohol, your fire suit, your tools, everything that you need to run a nitro car for 5 days, and you put it on a 4x8 trailer and you attach it to your race car, and then you go drive 1,200 miles during those 5 days. I mean, it is crazy. We found so many things that we had to change to actually make that work. It's things that you wouldn't even consider. Normally a nitro car has the sleeves above the deck. We had to machine our sleeves so they were perfectly flat with the deck, because there's no way the cylinder head is going to seal up with the gasket and keep the water in the thing. The rings on the heads, normally you would have those 18 to 22 thousandths off the deck. That's not going to work. It's going to hold the head up off the gasket, and it's going to leak water. So we ended up putting those rings further into the head, and they were only about 7-8 thousandths off the deck. We needed the biggest oil cooler you could possibly imagine on the front of the car, and that was worth 30 to 40 degrees of water temperature. Otherwise, you'd have no oil pressure. You could just watch the oil pressure gauge drop from 200 pounds to 20 pounds at an idle as it got hot in the engine group. When we do the street driving, we actually take all the lash out of the engine, and we're running about 2 thousandths lash on the rocker arms, so you're not hammering the lifters on the cam for hundreds of miles at a track. We would disconnect the fuel pump. I have a pinch collar on the front of my pump extension, and we would just loosen it up and slide the pump forward a half inch, and we disconnect the fuel pump that way. The radiator in the trunk has 4 fans on it. Those louvers are functional. We increased the size of the lines going from the Mizzier water pump in the trunk up to the engine, made a special idler pulley arrangement. So instead of the water coming in through the front of the engine like a normal Hemi would, and that we could only have a number 12 fitting on the front of the engine doing that, we made a special idler bracket where they came out the sides, and we could put number 16 lines on there. You know, it's just so many things that we did just to make this whole thing work. It's kind of crazy. I mean, and the thing is, doing the car that we did, you couldn't just get on the internet and, go watch a YouTube video, or, you call people and you talk to them and they think that you're crazy, and they'd roll their eyes when you're talking to them. You tell them you're going to go drive a nitro car on the street, and they think you're crazy. And we just had to figure the entire thing out ourselves and make it work. And when we ran into a problem, we just re-engineered the thing. And like I say, I can't tell you how many times my wife and I jumped in the car and we just fired it up and went for an ice cream cone in this thing, or I've actually gone grocery shopping with that car before. And, ran to the store to pick something up. It's just, we were using this thing like a real street car, and if you can actually drive drag week, and you can survive that thing, there is no doubt it is a street car. I mean, you can't fake it. Either it works or it doesn't. And there's a trailer hitch on it. I tell my guys once in a while, it sure would be fun to show up at a Nitro Chaos event and drive from my house to the event and pull into the pits with this little 4x8 trailer on the back and then do the event. I think people get a kick out of that. We might do that someday.
That would definitely raise a lot of eyebrows. You talk about those raised eyebrows and eye rolls. It goes away whenever it switches over to Nitro and turns the kind of performances that you have turned. Now, you've been into the 6 seconds or 5 second zone in a quarter?
In the quarter, we went, I believe it was 680 at 198. And that was with, the old stuff. That was with the stage 5 heads and all that, and the little tires. And since then, we've put the Alan Johnson heads on there, the stage 2 nitro heads, the billet heads. And now we have big tires. Who knows what this thing will run, and there's no aerodynamics, and I'm not sticking any wings on it. So whatever it runs, that's what it's going to run, looking like a real street car.
John Boy Kleiner II says, are you bringing any merchandise when you come to the Classic? I tell you, you've got people very interested in your street fuel coupe.
Oh, good. I hope they enjoy it. I mean, it's very different. It's just something I came up with and thought long and hard, and we just kept working at it, and we made it work, and just a lot of fun. I can kind of have my cake and eat it too. I can fire the thing up, and I can go drive around with my buddies, and we can go to car shows and hang out. And then I can pull it into the shop, and I can convert it over to a race car, and we can do the Nitro Chaos. And it's no different than what we were doing on Drag Week. I mean, really, the only thing that we were doing on Drag Week, from the street side of things to the racing side of things, we'd obviously put the slicks on it, and we would change the zoomies from a baffled system to a open system, and we'd mix up a batch of nitro. We'd set the lash and pull the air cleaner out, or the air filter out of it, and go pull it up to the staging lanes, and then reverse the process to jump in the car and drive to the next track.
Yeah, man, it is going to be fun to see. I can just imagine these nitro heads that are out there that run funny cars and run dragsters and all, and have been at it for a long time, and they're hearing this and going, wow, that could work. And Brian Coleman is here to say, yeah, it can work. It does work. It's working right now.
Yeah, I heard it so many times that it's never going to work. It's going to be a waste of money. There's no way it can possibly work. And I've just, some people got pretty nasty in the pits or, at car shows about this, and saying that I'm a liar and it doesn't work and that sort of thing. And I just told them, I'm not going to let your mechanical abilities influence how your lack of mechanical ability influence how I'm going to build my car. So go grab a hot dog, plop your butt in the stands, and watch the car go make a nitro pass, after I drove it into the track. It's real. There's plenty of videos, there's plenty of magazine articles on the car that it does what it does. It's the real deal.
The amount of press that you have received for this car, I mean, you've been in Hot Rod Magazine, you've been in multiple other publications, you've really created a big ripple, and now you've got a place. I mean, you had places that you could race like Drag and Drive, and you could do exhibition, but now you can actually run for a championship. How do you like Nitro Chaos, and and running it.
Well, it brings up a good point. Drag week was fun and all that, but to run a nitro car in drag week, it's like $7,500 for me, for the amount of nitro, the oil, the spark plugs, hotels, everything. It was like $7,500 average. And now I can go to a Nitro Chaos event and I can make money. It's by far cheaper and more economical to me to actually run the car at Nitro Chaos. I can run all 5 of these events for what it would cost me to do one weekend drag week. And it was a no-brainer. I get to run against other nitro cars. I get to hang around with guys that are like thinkers, that are into this craziness we call nitro racing. And it's, for a small guy like me, it's actually cost effective.
That's one of the perspectives that I've probably not heard before, and but it bears repeating. You've got a cost-effective way to race and to race for a championship. Put yourself in front of some amazing crowds that get a chance to see your handiwork and get a chance to come down and put pictures of it on their social media, and the legend grows. Brian Coleman, man, we are excited to have you racing in Nitro Chaos, and what a pleasure to have you on here tonight. You've got people that go to the races with you, and you've got people that help make it happen. And maybe we haven't had a chance to mention all those people, but if you want to do that, now be the time.
Well, I run a small crew. I just have a pickup truck and a trailer that I go to the track with, and so we can't haul too many guys. So Mark Janicki, he's one of my guys that has been with me for a long time, and has also gone on the drag and drive events with me. I have Jerry Kay, who's a fantastic fabricator. He's the son of Howard Kay, who worked at the famous R&B chassis shop in Kenosha. And Jerry's learned very well from his dad. He comes out, Mark Marcelli, he comes out to the track. So usually I have anywhere from 3 to 4 guys. And now Jerry Newman is coming out too. So when we go to Texas, I'll have my 3 main guys, and Jerry is going to fly down. And between those guys, they all have a talent and special skills that fit into what I'm doing. And I also have other guys, that, may or may not be at the track, like Roger Lechtenberg and people like that. But they're on speed dial. If I have a problem, I can call these guys and get some type of direction to fix whatever's going on. So I just feel really fortunate that I have these guys that share the same passion and are willing to sit in the hot weather and these dusty tracks and make this car go down the track. And then the guys back at home that also help out. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that are helping out. So, and I am appreciative of all of that. And I appreciate the Nitro Chaos event. It's a lot of fun, and I've been welcomed into that, and I've had nothing but fun and no issues whatsoever at any of the events.
Man, that is very good to hear, and we look forward to seeing you with the new improved version of your Street Fuel Coupe going down the track at Ennis and at the remaining 4 races of the season after that. Brian, I know you're a busy man, and I appreciate what you do in cardiac care there in Kenosha, and we appreciate you being part of our world in Nitro Chaos. And man, I think I want to pass on the word there from our fans out there. Be sure and bring T-shirts so that they can help you get to the next race with merchandise purchases at the Classic.
Yep, we have T-shirts that we bring, and just I'm actually not from Kenosha. I'm actually from Franksville, Wisconsin. It's just the next town north, but we're real close to Kenosha. Just in case anyone is looking for me or whatever, I'm actually in Franksville, Wisconsin. And our hometown track is Union Grove, Wisconsin.
Yep, where we will be coming up later this year. Thanks for being with us, Brian, and telling us the story of your amazing car. We'll see you at the races.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, everyone. What a story. I know that that has perked up a lot of interest in that car. And those that have seen it, it's one of those things like, what is going on here? This is really something else. So good chance to find out the straight scoop from Brian Coleman. All right, we're going to take one more break, and we'll come back and close it out on this version of Chaos Live. We'll be right back with you.
Taylor Motorsports Products is your first stop for quality safety equipment for your car or your driver. All of our safety equipment products are made in our facility in Albany, Oregon. From custom fit fire suits to racing seat belts, supercharger restraints, engine diapers, transmission blankets, and many other must-have items. Our racing history runs deep. We are racers building the finest safety equipment for racers. And we're a proud supporter of the Chaos.
Now, David, there's times, most of the time, you're up there in the safety of the tower. And I'm down there on the starting line right next to these things. And I remember when Brian Coleman rolled up the first time at Eddyville and I ever saw that car. And I'm like, he's going to do what? And like Chris was like, yeah, he's going to start on gas and then go nitro. I'm like, I'm going to film from behind. I don't know about this, but he certainly has it all figured out. And that is just such a cool hot rod, literally hot rod, out there in the world of drag racing. And folks, if you go back on the YouTube channel, you catch the last Nitro Chaos race there at Midstate Dragway, Havana, Illinois, you will see Andy Fangman versus Brian Coleman in the semifinal, if I remember correctly. It worked out perfectly. What a great epic moment of those two truly, in the sense of the word, of all its fullness, unique hot rods going against.
Yes. Oh man, that is something that you really only see in what we do, and that's part of that special magic that maybe you don't even anticipate that something like that can happen when you have a rule book that says motor in the front and got to have 80% nitro. The end. And boy, having a chance to experience that up close and personal, as amazing as it is to come up on gasoline and go to nitro, it's at least as cool that when he finishes the run and he's in the shutdown area, as long as he didn't pop the parachutes, he can switch it right back over to gasoline and drive the car back to the pit. It's simply amazing. Hey, one of the things that was announced this week is really exciting to me. One of the first sponsor of Chaos was Redline Shirt Club. And they are one of the main reasons that there is Funny Car Chaos and subsequently Nitro Chaos and soon to be Fuel Altered Chaos. They're back as one of our supporting sponsors for the 2025 year. The Redline Shirt Club is back with all things Chaos. It is redlineshirtclub.com. They've got vintage shirts, and I know all about it because I've got a bunch of them. You can join the club. It's a subscription service where we get the opportunity to subscribe to some of the coolest, nostalgic racing teams, race cars, and race facilities that are remembered with a hero card and with a shirt that is just absolutely amazing. It has been something that that lives on, and they are back with Chaos for the 2025 season. Just become a subscriber. Go to redlineshirtclub.com. You can subscribe for a very reasonable price. Cancel anytime you want to, if you want to, but I don't know why you would when you start to see the quality of these shirts and the opportunity to wear those. It'll create a conversation wherever you go. Trust me on that deal. But we are very happy to have Red Line Shirt Club back in the fold as one of our sponsors for Funny Car Chaos, Nitro Chaos, and coming soon, Fuel Altered Chaos. So be sure and get over there and restart that subscription if you ever let it lapse. We're happy to have them back with us. And Lee, thank you, sir, for being with us here tonight as we bring this group of Chaos Nation some unique race cars with unique operators, and they are getting ready for one of them's going to race at least a couple of races with us in Nitro Chaos in 25, and Coleman has announced he's going for the championship. He's going to race all 5. What a great group of people we have racing with us, and it's just I can hardly wait for it to ramp up and for us to get started. It'll be here before we know it, my friend.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Absolutely, David. And we've heard tonight from 2 competitors with 2 wildly different vehicles how good Nitro Chaos is, how good Chaos is as a racing platform, what Chris and Tara Graves have been able to put together, as wild as it is, as seemingly impossible of a concept, how possible it really is to create high stakes, competitive, and yet enjoyable racing for fan and racer is evident by those drivers today and their testimony. Not only just who we've heard tonight, Cliff Back, he dropped off the Bull A Fuel Dragster at McKinney Court for some update, and in chatting with him, he's looking for a funny car chassis. Now, he doesn't want to build a funny car. He wants to chop it. He wants to extend it. He wants to funster, if you will. Something like Russell Mills is running down there in Australia, but just not do the wedge Batmobile-shaped body. He's like, what we experienced at Nitro Chaos was just so cool and so much fun. We want to get back there. And that's a group that was effectively outlawed because of the rule that the motor has got to be in the back of the Bull A-Fuel Dragster. So that is the kind of impression that can certainly be made at Chaos.
Oh, I am just anxious to see them come back, and I've been anticipating the announcement of that. And maybe it's coming soon when they are able to put together a car that that will fit the bill. Put that same combination with the motor in the front, and come on.
I told him, I'm like, you're at McKinney Court, like,
right?
You're in the right place.
Yeah. If you can dream it, they can build it. So here we go. Well, thanks again, Lee. We are looking forward to another Funny Car Chaos live presentation coming up in a few weeks. We are probably two weeks out on that, and we're lining up guests for that right now. And stay tuned to our social media outlets, Facebook and Instagram. We've got news coming out, and of course on funnycarchaos.com with all the announcements that continue to come out about the 2025 season, which is going to begin very soon. We have got the Classic April 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We'll do a Match Race Madness up in Amarillo April 11th and 12th. And the 25th and 26th Funny Car Chaos for the first time in the state of Oklahoma is going to be at Tulsa Raceway Park. That's going to be one great drag race. We look forward to seeing you next time on Chaos Live or at the racetrack, because just get ready. It is going to be absolutely incredible. So have a great week, and remember, be kind, be well, be awesome. We'll see you at the races. Good night.